Hello, everyone. This is still Teddy. So, I want to tell you a story about how this woman named Helen Hastead was able to bend reality to win over 5,000 contests using this 4-letter code. So, to understand how she did this, first, I want you to look into my eyes. So, when you look in my eyes, are you really seeing me? Are you really seeing my eyes? Or is your mind creating what you think you see? Because we don't actually see with our eyes. We see with our mind. We see with our perception. Let me explain. So how sight works is when a light hits the back of your eye, a part called the retina has special cells called photoreceptors. They convert that light into electrical signals. These signals then travel through your optic nerves to your brain, and your brain creates the image that you see. So in other words, your eyes don't really see anything. They just send the signals of that light to your brain, and then your brain decides what is real. Or I guess what you think is real. So this is why sometimes, you have multiple people looking at the same thing, but they interpret it totally different. That's why perception is key. And this is where things get really interesting. Some scientists studied this in the past, experiment that's called the double slit experiment. And it shows how your mind shapes reality. So in this famous experiment, it shows that a particle's behavior changes based on whether it's being observed or not. So when there's no one that's watching, the particles behave like waves, and they are spreading out and existing in multiple possibilities. But when somebody is observing them, they behave like solid particles where they collapse into a fixed state. That is wild, right? So this experiment shows that simply paying attention to something changes its behavior. Other people call this the observer effect. So the observer, which is your mind, is influencing the outcome. Think about how crazy that is. So if particles, the very building blocks of reality, change based on it's being observed or not, what does that say about you and me? A being that's made up of particles. Just think about that. Okay. This experiment teaches us something that's incredibly profound. It teaches us that your mind doesn't just perceive reality, it also creates it. Your thoughts, your feelings, and intentions can alter this physical world as we know it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what this is showing. So your thoughts, they emit a vibrational frequency that influences events and circumstances that's happening in your life. I know some people don't like to hear this because then that puts you in control for what is happening in your life. But when you think about it, that means that you have the power. You are a powerful being, which means then whatever's happening, you also have the power to influence that to go into the direction that you want it. And so what this is saying is that when you focus your thoughts on positive outcomes, you attract those outcomes into your life. And same thing, if you focus your thoughts on negative outcome, then chances are high that you're going to attract that into your life. None of this is to say that you won't have any undesirable outcomes throughout your life if you're just thinking positive all the time. But what I'm trying to say is that even though some undesirable outcomes might happen, or as they happen to you, you then have that as an opportunity to make that a net positive based on your outlook, based on how you see it. And this isn't magic. I know some people think this is just woo-woo, but this is really science. Like we are this. So if you observe a particle and you observing that particle can change its behavior, then observe your own life. Through your thoughts and your beliefs, you can change your own reality. So now back to Helen Hastead. So she understood this. She understood that what you focus on becomes your reality. So she was known, or she became known as the contest queen. She had won over 5,000 contests, including trips, cars, and even a house. And the thing is, she wasn't really relying on luck. She used a process that's rooted in the power of her mind. Well, she understood that you don't see with your eyes, you see with your mind. And she understood exactly what science is now confirming to be true. And so she grew up with the mindset from her parents, which was you had to work for everything. But she would think to herself, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a different way. And that curiosity kind of shaped her into seeking out what this better way was. In 1948, Helen read this book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And she just loved the idea, that your thoughts can create your outcome. She started small. She entered a contest, and her process was she visualized herself winning. She felt the joy. She heard her name called, and weeks later, she got the call. She actually won it. And once she won that, she said, okay, let's keep this going. And she wanted more proof that this method actually worked. And so she entered into another contest and then another one. And so from 1950 to 1970, she was just winning prizes left and right. Like I said, she won TVs, cash, vacations, even a house. But, she wasn't just lucky. She had a system. And this system is this 4-letter word called SPEC. It's select it, project it, expect it, and then collect it. And so here's how it works. So the first one, to select it, is you have to be crystal clear about what it is that you want. And so she didn't enter the contest randomly. She chose one that she truly wanted to win. And the universe responds to clarity. In the last video I did, I discussed about how I won a poker tournament in Taiwan. So the funny thing was that year I wrote down on my goals, my yearly goals was to win a poker tournament. Now, get this, I didn't write how much, I didn't write when, where, I just wrote it down. And after I wrote it down, I don't even think I was thinking about it that much. But here's the thing about the universe and being specific. Because I didn't have a specific goal, there was no specificity there. I did win that tournament, but that was only maybe like a $500 tournament. After I won, I was excited because, I just loved the game. But then I realized, I said, oh, snap. This might be the tournament that I wrote on my yearly goal to win. And it's kind of funny because it's not really a big one. So I wish when I wrote it, I was more specific. I wish I wrote win a poker tournament that's, $500,000, $1 million. So I just thought that was hilarious. And so the first thing is, you have to be very clear. The next thing is project it. So you see your success vividly in your mind. So Helen would imagine hearing her name being called. She would imagine holding the prize in her hand. She'd imagine experiencing the emotions, and she would actually, experience those emotions of winning. She made it real. So real in your mind that is already yours. Number 3 is she would expect it. So this is where most people might fall short, because she believed that you had to really expect it, not really hope for it. I heard one guy say in the past, when you go to turn on your light switch, you're expecting it to turn on. You're not just flipping it and being like, I hope it turns on. You're not hoping. And so you have to expect that. Number 4 is to collect it. So she would always take the action. She went and actually did the work. She wrote the slogan, she sent in the entries, she put in the work. Her philosophy is that the universe rewards action. Like in this plane that we live in now, this is a physical plane, so we actually have to put in physical work. You can't just daydream. You need the two. You need the mind and physical action. And her message was simple. You don't need luck. You need to be focused. Because most people, they fail because their thoughts are scattered. Her system forced clarity, discipline, and alignment. So just remember that you are the observer. You are the creator. So what reality will you observe today? And most importantly, what reality will you create?